the beginning, before time existed and before the world was made, there was only God, eternal and infinite. And just like that, with his single word, heaven was born, a place of beauty and peace. Rivers of living water flowed across its golden lands, their clear streams shining like glass. The light in heaven did not come from a sun or stars, it came directly from God, filling everything with his glory. And it was here that I was brought into life. I was not like the others. Among the countless hosts of angels, God made me the brightest. He called me Lucifer, the light bearer and the morning star. I was the first among the heavenly hosts, the crowning jewel of his creation. He adorned me with a beauty and brilliance that surpassed all others. My form reflected his perfection. My face shone like the dawn, and my voice was like a symphony of celestial harps. No angel could rival me in wisdom, in power, or in grace. And so God gave me a purpose that matched my splendor. I was the conductor of heaven's worship and the leader of the celestial choirs. I loved the role he entrusted to me, and I poured all of myself into fulfilling it with utmost devotion. Through my dedication, I sought to honor him, to reflect the gratitude I felt for being made so magnificent, so unique. Every act I performed was my way of offering back to him who had made me what I was. In those early days, I never desired more. I lived in harmony with the other angels. There were countless angels, a host too numerous to count. And yet, despite our differences, we were all bound by the same love. We moved as one, fulfilling our purpose in the grand design of the Almighty. There was no thought of self in my heart, no pride, no ambition. The songs we sang were pure and sincere, rising from the depths of our being. Each song was a tribute to the one who had created us out of nothing. But over time, something began to change. Even in the perfection of heaven, I could feel the weight of what I had been given. At first, it was nothing more than a faint thought, but it grew. Little by little, I began to believe that I was greater than the one who created me. And I asked myself, why must all glory belong to him? I was the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. My light surpassed that of every angel. My voice commanded the choirs of heaven itself. And yet I was made to bow, to serve, to reflect, never to shine for my own sake. The first time those thoughts entered my mind, I managed to push them away, brushing them off as nothing more than a fleeting moment of vanity. But they lingered, like a seed sown in fertile ground, slowly taking root within me. No matter how hard I tried to cast out the troubling thoughts, they always found their way back to me. More and more, I found myself wondering, why should I always stand beneath him? Why should my greatness remain hidden, buried in the shadow of his throne? The thought grew bolder, louder. What had started as a whisper in my heart grew into a roaring conviction, and I began to see heaven as a cage that held me back from revealing the fullness of my own greatness. I was destined for more, I thought. I deserved more. In my mind, I began to see myself not as a servant of God, but as his equal, perhaps even his better. I believed I could rule better than the one who made me. The thought was thrilling. I imagined a throne for myself higher than his. I pictured all the hosts of heaven turning their adoration toward me. They would sing my praises, they would bow to me. The throne was my destiny, and I would stop at nothing to claim it. That is the curse of pride. It convinces you that the light you carry is your own, that you are greater than the one who gave it to you. Looking back now, I see it clearly. Pride is a slow poison. It begins sweet, almost imperceptible, but it spreads quickly, twisting everything it touches. It blinds you and distorts the truth. The beauty of heaven faded from my sight. All I could see was myself, and all I wanted was more. I was sure I'd climbed to heaven and I'd set my throne over the stars of God. But what I didn't know at that moment was that my thoughts were the beginning of my fall. So my rebellion began with a plan. The whispers in my heart turned into action, and the action started with words. I knew that if I was to challenge the throne of God, I could not do it alone. Heaven was vast, and its hosts were countless. I would need allies, angels of power and authority, those who shared my discontent or could be persuaded to see things as I did. I began with quiet conversations, subtle and careful. I approached those I knew were closest to me in power and influence, angels who held dominion over realms of heaven. At first, I asked simple questions, planting seeds of doubt. Have you ever wondered why we, who are so magnificent, are bound to serve? Why our light must always reflect His and never shine for itself? Their answers varied. Some dismissed the idea immediately, their loyalty to the Creator unshaken. But others hesitated. They listened. They considered. I saw the flicker of something in their eyes, a curiosity, a recognition of their own strength. Those were the ones I pursued. I spoke of freedom, painting a picture of a new heaven, one where we, the brightest and most powerful, would no longer bow to anyone. The more I spoke, the more they listened. I appealed to their pride, their sense of worth. I reminded them of their splendor, their wisdom, their unmatched power among creation. And so, they began to abandon their proper dwelling, the places they were given in heaven, to join me in this vision of what could be. Angels of high rank, powers, dominions, and thrones began to see themselves not as servants, but as rulers in waiting. I saw it in their eyes when we spoke, a fire kindling that matched my own. They began to question, to dream of a heaven where their light would no longer be eclipsed by His. As my following grew, my words became bolder. I spoke openly of a new order, a kingdom where we would sit upon thrones of our own making. And it wasn't long before the murmurs became action. The angels who had once sung in perfect harmony with the Creator's will now turned their voices toward me. Their allegiance shifted from the throne of God to the vision I offered. A third of heaven's hosts joined my cause, angels of great beauty, wisdom, and strength, their wings ready for battle, their hearts burning with ambition. In secret, we prepared for what was to come. Our rebellion would not be a quiet act of dissent. It would be a war. I knew the cost, and so did they. But the promise of what we could achieve outweighed the risk. I organized them into ranks, assigning leaders to oversee the growing legions of angels who had aligned themselves with me. Together, we crafted a plan to challenge the very foundations of heaven. My betrayal was complete, and the stage was set for the greatest battle heaven would ever see. But the Creator was not silent. He spoke my name, His voice reverberating through the heavens, both patient and resolute. Lucifer, He said, turn back. There is no victory in this path, only destruction. His words struck like thunder, and for a moment, even the loyal angels seemed to pause. But I had made my choice. I raised my voice in defiance and declared that my will was my own. I would not bow, not to Him, not to anyone. Then came the command. From the throne, God called His loyal angels to stand against us. At their head was Michael, the leader of heaven's armies, small in stature but mighty in faith. Michael and his angels fought against us, and me and my angels fought back. The battle erupted with a fury that shook the very foundations of heaven. Light and fire filled the skies as swords clashed and wings beat with thunderous force. My followers and I fought with all the strength we could muster. Every blow we struck was driven by the belief that we were fighting for freedom, for a kingdom where we would no longer serve but reign. Michael, however, fought with a power beyond understanding. His sword seemed to cut through our ranks with unyielding force. Despite our strength, the tide of battle began to turn against us. Then came the decisive blow. Heaven's light surged with an intensity I could not withstand. I was struck down, and with me, the angels who had stood by my side. The fall was unlike anything I could have imagined. It was not a simple descent, but a complete severance from everything I had once known. The harmony of heaven, the radiance of God's presence, the unity I had shared with my brothers, all of it was ripped away. My wings, once radiant with light, faltered. My name, once a symbol of brilliance, was now a curse. Where we fell has been the subject of many tales. Some say I descended upon Babylon, the great city of wealth and indulgence, seeking to establish my kingdom among its towers. Others claim I fell near Jerusalem, drawn to its holiness, hoping to corrupt what was sacred. But the truth is, I fell long before Babylon or Jerusalem ever existed. When the fall ended, I found myself in a realm far from the perfection of heaven. It was chaos, a shadowy reflection of what I had once known. There was no peace, no light, only the echoes of my defiance. My followers gathered around me, their faces marked with the same bitterness and loss that now defined me. We were no longer angels of light, but exiles, cast out into a place of desolation. I looked at them, those who had shared in my rebellion, and I vowed we would not remain defeated. I told them, if I could not claim the throne of heaven, I would build a kingdom here. And my humiliation only fueled my resolve. And so, I became what I am now. No longer Lucifer, the morning star, but Satan, the prince of darkness.